Good evening. I'm going to call to order the Economic Development Council. Today's date is March 7th. We're going to do a roll call. We'll start with our selectmen.
Steve Fournier.
Derek Horn.
Steve Dutton.
Andrew Charrette.
Al DeRusso.
Marie Boyle.
Brian Fournier.
Brian Hanson.
Charlie Tentis.
Okay. Minutes to January 4th meeting. I will need we had a chance to review them. I will need, and I don't think I can get one. Well, yeah. I can get, Andrew was here and Derek, right?
I believe I was.
So.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Would you like to accept the minutes as printed?
Pretty sure I was.
Were you?
Yeah.
Jerry?
It's funny,
Because the last one we had was,
Read them. Take your time, man.
no, I can't make a motion to accept them, can I?
If you were there.
if you were there, yes.
It doesn't say I was there, though, there's a thing on here. It doesn't have,
Doesn't have that one?
Correction we need?
you know, I don't know if I have the most current ones. That's my,
Derek, can you take a
January.
look on there?
maybe I'm missing the
This
page.
February, we didn't have a quorum.
Right, right.
I'm sorry, I must be missing a page, so. But, I'll accept them.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposition? And I have several abstentions.
Yeah.
1, 2,
4 abstentions.
4, 5. All right, we get that out of the way, that's good. Derek, I'll let you take over the next one for Goffstown Lions Business Expo.
Okay, the Business Expo is on Saturday from 10 to 3 with setup starting in the morning. I'll be there all day, and I'm just looking for volunteers to basically be there and walk around, and we're going to have informational packets for each of the businesses with local contacts in case somebody wants a new sign, they have a question about building permits. You'll have resources, some of the state programs that DRED has come in and talk about, and you know, not a whole lot of things, but a few other things to hand out to the businesses. And we also want to get people to update their information on the business directory, check it out, and I'm gonna have 2 computers there, so we can do immediate real-time, just update it, and make sure all the contact information, make sure they have a website, if they have a Facebook account, whatever, it's all updated, and just answer any questions that people walking through. So really just looking for, I think in the past we've done it as, you know, about a 2.5 hour, somebody from 10 to 12:30, and then 12:30 till 3 o'clock, you know, just.
I'll be there the whole time, I mean.
I'll volunteer too.
Yeah, I'll do the morning.
I can bounce around.
Okay. I'll do the morning, 10 to 12:30.
Okay.
And you guys are gonna be there as,
I
you're there,
myself have a booth, so.
you got a booth, so you're gonna be
But I have
there.
2 people there,
Brian,
so
you
I
offered
can.
to go, or did you?
You can bounce in.
No, I'll
and-
volunteer.
Okay,
I'll go help out,
all
definitely.
right. All right, and then,
can
let's
be
see,
there.
you can be afternoon,
Sure, 12:33.
yeah?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, as long as we have a couple people around, that's fine.
Yep.
I can bounce in and out depending on
Okay. Yeah, that works.
where we're at.
I know I'm finalizing up the business packet, and Charlie's been, you know, helping me with that. He's gonna help me stuff the folders and get all that information out, and so we can hand it out to the different businesses.
Great.
Does it cost money to get into this, or is it's free to the public?
If
So-
it's
There's a
$2 or $3,
fee.
$2 for the
To
public, but
to
you
get
just
in.
tell them that you're,
That's what I was wondering.
that you're with the economic development.
Yeah.
No, charge you double, but we
Hank and I are gonna be taking the tickets,
Oh,
so
okay.
we'll know.
Maybe you can get a coupon, get it for half.
Last year I gave the 2, and the girl says, oh, she says, you're working here? She said, you don't pay. I said, that's all right. It's not a big deal. It's $2. Well, it's not a biggie, but we'll put it in for reimbursement.
Mileage, too.
You see that one, Steve? Mileage?
For me.
All right. All right. Anybody else have any questions, comments on the Goffstown Lions?
Yeah, what are we giving people in the packets?
Okay,
I have, one is gonna be local contact information with, It's got all the officials that a, you know, a business would need, and
Mhm.
then one's gonna be state resources.
Kinda like the stuff you just listed a second ago?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and then, I'm gonna try and target, I'm gonna talk to Mary Ann McKenna, try and get a list of who's gonna be there.
Cool.
So we can get their addresses, see if they're within the revitalization zone, put in a packet information about, the revitalization 79E, see if they're in, historic district, if they're, eligible for any of those tax credits, ERZ zone, that kind of thing.
Cool, cool.
Do we have a door prize?
We have 2 door prizes, cause I think we talked about
Yep.
any business that comes in and updates their information would get put in for, I think we've got an iPad Nano and an iPad, or not iPad, iPod Nano and iPod Touch. So one for the businesses and then one for, people walking through that sign up for the EDC newsletter.
Nice, which one's which? Cool.
We decide the day
Cool.
of.
You got something to put
Yep.
things in, and,
Yep.
okay. All right, that sounds good. Excellent. Anything else for that item? No, we're good? Okay, a recap of the joint meeting for Regional Comprehensive Plan for the Community Technical Assistance Program, or CTAP, build-out report. I had an unfortunate commitment I had to make that night, so I could not attend. And I spoke the day before to Steve about it, and we were talking about different things, and then something happened, I wasn't able to attend, so, but I did catch it on TV station, and it was very interesting, so. Derek, I think you have a presentation you're going to?
Not on that one, I have one on on item number 4.
On item number 4?
Yeah.
Okay. I know that a few of you attended. Do you want to make any comments about what you heard, or what they displayed, or what they talked about? I know there were some comments from conservation, but besides that,
There were a lot of comments from conservation.
yeah. Yeah, I think they had, it, based on the comments that I saw, it seemed like they were expecting a more detailed plan and not a general, that, yeah, and I think that's what they were looking for, but,
Well, they were concerned that that was the detailed.
yeah.
Yeah.
I felt they did a good job for what they had, and I mean, they're just trying to give an idea of,
Yeah.
and give you a little bit of an idea, wasn't it?
Choices.
I think some people were thinking a little bit more on the technical side, I guess, and it was
Yeah,
like-
yeah. So, but anyway, I thought it was a good start. And obviously, there's a lot of places, a lot of branching out they're gonna have to do in different areas. I know that Tony's here. Do you wanna make any comments, from your perspective on CTAP, or are you?
No, I wasn't at that meeting.
No, but I mean, I didn't know if maybe there was, okay.
No.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, did anybody not attend that wants to know anything specifically? Like, isn't it?
Is almost everybody here, I think, except for?
I was the only,
I wasn't
Talk
able
about
to
it.
make it either.
I was the only one.
Are you guys,
No,
are you
no,
guys
I didn't.
curious, like, about anything, or?
I've had a chance to go through the material, I haven't had a chance to, or taken the time to watch the video from that meeting yet, so.
Mhm.
I know you were there, Charlie, and a couple of us, so maybe,
Yep.
ask you
That was
questions.
excellent representation, I thought it was very good. So, go ahead.
I thought we were really lucky among all the towns that could, there are 26 towns that are affected by this particular, projected development. And not every town had the sort of second level that we had, that the young woman talked about. Everybody got sort of the CTAP regular thing, but they did projections on, what it would look like with lots of different scenarios, different growth scenarios. And I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was a great luxury. Not all the other 26 towns got that, and we got that, and I think that was great. And it wasn't a prediction of what was going to happen, but it was a reasonable projection of what's probably gonna happen and how it'll affect our zoning and our developments. And I think it's really germane for what we're talking about, as far as helping businesses grow and things like that. The more we know about that sort of thing, the better we can communicate with businesses in town about, what's good and what's gonna happen. That's what I think, anyway.
I mean, I would say it was definitely an eye-opener.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Not
Yeah,
long.
I mean, they went over, they did basically the whole area, so, I mean, it was kinda good.
Yep.
to get a good feel for what could, or we may, or depending on how we approach things. Tony, a comment?
Just in terms of deep background on CTAP, when the program originally started, which was quite some time ago, the Goffstown Industrial Council actually hired Dick Bruno in town as a consultant to be a liaison to both the town and the CTAP program. And Dick attended, on the town's behalf, all of the early meetings that went on, so that may go into why we really
Why we got
some
selected?
extra attention.
Great.
Good.
He's
Good for
really
us.
a worthwhile approach to just understanding that program.
He was there that night, too.
Yeah, he was there
Dick
Thursday
came
night,
in,
yeah.
he did come.
I thought we were really lucky. I thought there was a lot of really good information in that, and it's nice to think about. Not everybody has those resources to think about, so
Right.
it's cool, you know?
Okay. Derek, you want to handle New Hampshire Community Planning Grant Program?
Yeah, before we get into the New Hampshire Community Planning Grant Program, I want to just do a little bit of background. We've been working with the Goffstown Industrial Corp., Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, and Hillsborough County to kind of see how they want to develop their property potentially, because they do have a considerable amount of land where the nursing home is up and behind there. And last summer, we, along with Manchester, Bedford, Merrimack, Londonderry, and Litchfield, put in an application for a Metro Center Growth Corridor project, and that's what you see here. And then the outlined in yellow is the portion of Goffstown that would have been part of that that product, to really do some planning for the corridor around the airport and the new exit on the Everett Turnpike. That application, the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission was the lead on that, and they were not awarded the HUD grant for that. But New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority was awarded $1 million over 3 years for a community challenge planning grant. Really to look at building codes, corridor planning, to mix in affordable housing and economic development, look at form-based codes, some mixed-use zoning. And that grant application is going to be posted next month. And communities throughout the state are going to have to decide before I believe the application deadline we're anticipating is June 15th, of whether or not they're going to apply for some type of project with that. And this is a zoning article that's on the ballot for next Tuesday, that the county is looking to rezone those highlighted properties. And we met last Friday with the county about potentially partnering with them and going in on a joint application once the application actually comes out, to develop a zoning plan for their properties and that corridor, to link it up with the commercial industrial flex zone that comes from Tatro Drive all the way towards 114, 114A, and towards the Bedford line. And it would really be, the purpose would be to incorporate their design charrette that they did 2 years ago, that looked at all their land and where there were business opportunities, where there were civic buildings, land bank and recreation, and also included dwelling and other uses.
Derek, who exactly made this map? Is this from the Hillsborough County?
Yes.
Okay.
This is from the Hillsborough County charrette they did in 2009.
So it was done by the county?
It was done by the county, but it was participation from local officials, area officials, some of the representatives, fire chief, our planner at the time was there, members of conservation, everybody participated in that design charrette. So, this was kind of what the land use map that came out of that.
Just wait, you jumped that
Yep.
page. Can you go, trying to get an idea?
Yeah.
I lost, I apologize, I'm not seeing that good anymore. I'm trying to find, no, the other one.
Next one?
Yeah, I see, that's Henry Bridge Road, up there.
Yeah, that's Henry Bridge Road right here that comes up to the intersection. The lights are right there.
Correct,
So this is
One-
the vacant land there,
next to the,
and this is the prison. That's the
Correct.
women's prison.
Right. so what's the white piece is the police?
That police station and,
Ford
unique.
dealership.
Unique
Nursing
Ford.
home?
And you need four, and you need four, okay,
The
thank you.
nursing home is,
Oh,
Could have been a tan,
The
isn't it?
corner.
yeah, the nursing home is down here.
Yeah, okay.
And then you've got the intersection here. So, I guess our goal, talking with Brian Rose, the planner here, is let's study that area with the county land all the way towards the Bedford line to really start getting a zoning plan and potentially some form-based zoning to really look at this land between Bedford line and Henry Bridge Road along 114 to get some proper zoning in there and start working with the county so they can develop their property.
Is the way the zoning's set up right now hindering the development of that land? And if so, does it really need to be developed?
For the county land, if the county were to develop it, right now they're agricultural. They are limited, even on bringing businesses, if they were gonna rent out space in their vacant buildings in the county complex, they would most likely need a variance.
Right.
And if they were gonna do any of their, anything that they had in their design charrette for business opportunities where you see in the Brown area or, office, high-density housing in the pink area on 114, they would need.
But that's not gonna be commercial, that pink area? That's gonna be high-density housing?
It says office.
It was
something.
office campus, potentially high-density housing, they gave a bunch of different uses.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
And that's public land,
it's county land.
county land, yeah,
Yep.
public land, got it.
Yeah.
All right. What's the difference between public land and county land?
Well, it's public, but it's which political entity controls it.
Right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but by them doing development on their property, it's tax revenue to the town.
Depends on the use. If the
go-
overall use is a for-profit use and they're leasing the land, then
Right.
yes, the
Right.
town would be able to tax that property.
Right, and that's approximately at the bottom of the street where, say, St. Anselms is?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Property, structure, or both?
What's that?
When you say tax, you talking property or the structure or
Well, you'd be taxing the use.
the use of it, but, okay, so how do they, I'm just,
So if they did like a strip mall type
If it
thing.
is-
But it'd only be
Yeah.
on the buildings, but not the land?
If they maintain the right to lease the actual property, they can own it, and other people can build on it, and they pay them sort of a rental towards it.
I understand that, but you're saying, because part of this, we all talk about that, creating jobs and tax revenue, correct?
Right.
And now regarding that, so my question is, if it's on county land, and they do go through some of that usage, I imagine the county retains the ownership of the land, they lease it out for a certain period of time. Is the tax then be on that land because it's become business active, or is it on the structures that are there? That's my question.
The land itself is actually taxed, the whole property, if it's leased.
If it's leased?
Yeah.
Has to be a lease with it. All right, thank you.
Yeah, so, and
I'll
just
send you a bill for that.
So, and like I said, going further, it works towards the 114A core management plan, which, unfortunately at the time that the county, for whatever reason, was not very involved in that process. So this tries to bring them into that plan and develop them, within the context of the town's master plan and also their master plan. And kind of an application for this type of grant is to try and merge all those together, get a complete zoning plan over it so they can, because, for Hillsborough County, the reality is they've got to, their county commissioners can only do so much. At some point, they gotta take it to the delegation, and to have a zoning plan, that was put in place that shows, the potential revenue there,
Totally.
so.
Yeah, to have that organized, you're more likely to get part of that $1 million that's up for grabs, to actually have the infrastructure ready to go. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And again, this is really the strip that we're looking at along 114. And, when we talked with the county this most previous time, it was specifically about their land, but, taking it all the way to the Bedford land, is definitely something that, I see as a benefit, so.
There's also a petition article on 114A in Pinardville. Was there any discussion, which is not likely to pass, in large measure because I think of concerns of what might be developed there without greater controls? So has there been any discussion about extending that study area to include 114A and maybe giving some real thought to that section?
There hasn't been, but I think it's definitely, worthwhile to look at the whole area that was in that HUD one, is to incorporate all of Pinardville, to really get that whole corridor, to see if there should be some change along that area, and really, get a well-defined zoning of what can and can't be done, and get the public input into that process.
Tony, is that the area from Century 21 to Shaw's, that stretch?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess, my sense would also be, it's a way to have the Pinardville community more actively involved in some of the issues that we're talking about on this other end of the village, too.
I guess I was looking for EDC's feedback, thoughts, because once the application comes out, it's a really accelerated timeline that staff has to work with the staff at Hillsborough County if we're gonna do a joint application and try and take advantage of the grants that are out there.
Well, what I can tell you is that back many years ago, when the police station went in, this is a large step forward on the part of the county, because they made an effort back then and felt they were taken advantage of in many different ways. And so now, being able to develop that property, or the potential to develop that property, could be a big boon to our town. So I think whatever we can do to get involved with that, I think is something we really need to take that step forward and do whatever we have to, and support whatever we can in that area. Because it's been years, and even during the process of the Charrette, some of those things were brought up from the past, and I thought for sure that when they were finished that we were gonna be going back to the old ways again. But having that Charrette and all that information, I think it's really good for them. And of course, everybody's looking for revenue. That's the whole key. So the fact they're looking for revenue could be to our advantage. So that's just my 2 cents worth.
So what can we do?
Yeah, what are the next steps?
Do you need help, or?
Well, we may, and what it might be is, once those application criteria, I know Andy said that we might be able to have Ben Frost from the Housing Finance Authority come to one of these meetings and explain exactly what the goal of the grant and, what they're looking to get to, and have him.
I work for New Hampshire Housing, so I'll have to recluse myself from any votes, but I could get probably Ben to come in and talk if we needed to, or something, to
Okay.
understand it.
Could I ask kind of like a procedural question of you and Steve? Hypothetically, you guys get the money. Hypothetically, Hillsborough County gets the money, and they can go through with this planning. What happens to the planning after that? Just tell me, like, what happens, okay, you guys have this great idea for how to rezone it and everything like that. What happens in the town after that? Is that the kind of thing that, like, goes on the ballot, and that's something that we as voters vote on?
Yeah, it's our understanding from talking with Southern New Hampshire Planning,
Yeah.
that this HUD grant is really aimed at coming to deliverables. First year is to get that community involvement and really develop the zoning plan. Second year is to get the zoning ordinance written and brought to town meeting
Gotcha.
and adopted.
That's why it's distributed over 3 years. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
What about-
it's a 3-year program for New Hampshire Housing. For their sub-grantees,
Right.
it's a 2-year grant.
Okay.
So it's really focused on trying to bring that deliverable of, coming up with a zoning amendment and bringing it to town meeting and building the public awareness for it.
And our goal would be to support and encourage whatever comes out of this plan.
Yeah.
Sure, that's our role, right?
But I think also to participate in the process by actually going to a lot of the kind of planning meetings and potentially having a liaison person to that planning group as one of the stakeholders. The stakeholder apart from the planning department and apart from the county and apart from Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, which will actually be the entity that gets the money, I think, and kind of manages the process.
So what would the benefit of that person be, that liaison?
To have input into the discussions and really an understanding of the dynamics of you know, what's being put together.
You may have somebody on that group, on that side, that is trying to push strictly housing aspects, and that's not a big beneficial to us. We would wanna see more commercial
Sure.
So
done.
that
So
person
by
would have to be
having
a
a
lobbyist.
liaison, obviously would be pushing what we feel and try to convince those that, I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but that's basically how I would see the liaison working with them, to be able to
Participate.
Yeah.
Participate
kind
in
of
forming
help
a
steer them
plan
toward
and-
what we're looking for.
Lobby for our interests.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Got it.
Anybody else? Derek, and that it?
No, I
No,
mean,
no.
what I can do is if we do have, at this point, we've kind of waited till, we wanted to see how, town meeting, came out with the zoning amendments for the county land.
Yeah.
And now taking, Tony's feedback into it, also that portion between 114 and Shaw's, and just kind of see, and then start to pull information together, so when those application criteria come out on the 15th of April, we can start pulling it together and working with the county to.
I would like to hear your views on the potential to expand it into the Pinardville area. Though I'm mindful of the fact that whenever you expand it, there's additional risk, political risk and other types of risk, as to the area getting too big and you're really diffusing your focus, but it's something that has come up in that particular neighborhood through the petitioned article, something that has been discussed in this town for years and years and years. And the planning board decision has tended to be it's too complicated to get involved in, number one. And if we did get involved, and this is as an outsider, this is my view of what's going on, we risk other things, because people will vote against everything if they're not happy with what goes on there, but.
I mean, personally, from my end, I like the buffer of the way it sits now. I would like to see take the right-hand turn at the lights and go that direction and leave that buffer that's there now. Whether that's realistic or not, I don't know. But that's my personal feeling on it. That's basically what you're looking for, is to, do we want to develop that, or do we want to?
Do we want to plan for it, not do we want to develop for it?
Well, right.
Because the plan may be the best thing to do is to ensure that it remains a buffer.
Yeah.
Okay, but unless we have input, and unless we have professionals looking at it, we're just going to ignore that area. And, you know, what happens is people come to the ZBA and they look to do things, and it becomes more of a hodgepodge, frankly, than it might otherwise be.
I think after the vote next Tuesday, we'll probably give you a better feel of what the actual people that live there look at.
Well, we don't know how the people who live there are actually voting.
Well, that
We know how the
Well,
whole
I
town
think-
is
That we
voting
can, that we can. They have, that area will vote in Bartlett.
because of the Bartlett.
Right.
We could find out what that count is.
So you could isolate it.
That would be very interesting to
It would be
have
interesting.
those numbers.
Because also we have obviously we have a zip code situation also, and part of that, we're wondering, part of that vote is like, once again, someone in the village, what does it matter to them regarding, well, they might say it would be nice or not, but if you wanna know how that community's feeling, that we'll be able to isolate, because they're voting at Bartlett.
I think that'd be a great thing to have a town meeting on, something like that. That's a great thing to talk about, because it's about the future of this town, I mean, what's at risk is the New Hampshire, the Goffstown-ness about this place. And yeah, we could, cut those trees down and, put whatever there, but that's going to change the sort of, the aesthetic, and I guess that's a good thing to have a town meeting about, is what does everybody picture the aesthetic as?
Or to include into this.
Yeah, because
Study.
this is a good sort of canary in the coal mine for that sort of thing, about what this place is gonna look like for a while. This is a very central thing that everybody goes by all the time. What a great thing to have a big discussion about, because there are some people in the town who think that we should do what we can, and other people don't want it to turn into, honky tonk, and there's always that zen, you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I guess, does the end result from this study necessarily go on the ballot as one piece?
No,
I
likely
mean,
not. You would-
So, it seems to me that, you know, getting more some of this is just getting more information and studying it, and I don't see a lot of harm in that. I mean, you can always go in a different direction if you don't like where it comes out.
I think after you're done with it, you look at it and you say, okay, how much piecemeal do you do with it? Do a step at a time to try to move it all together. If the complete vision is shot down as a whole, then you gotta start from scratch again and try to figure out what to do, but, you know, I think it's probably more of a piecemeal, approach. Yes?
I think too that one of the good parts about this plan would be if you look at form-based zoning for that area, which is different than just saying, oh, this is going to be commercial, this is going to be industrial, this is going to be what have you. It actually is more descriptive of what the buildings on that property would look like. That helps you protect a lot of what the character of your community is, and I think that's a real plus, I think, to the town to start moving in that direction.
Yeah, I think it would be a real plus too, but does everybody agree, you know?
What is that now? That
Industrial?
structure?
Well,
Or agricultural, right? The,
No, it's RSBOD most likely.
Oh, yeah.
that section from,
it's
yeah.
RSBOD primarily.
Which allows them to do quite a bit. No?
It's more like the professional type businesses, your
Yeah.
dentist's office.
Insurance company.
Insurance, that
Yeah,
type of
real
stuff.
estate, stuff like that.
Right.
What would,
Not high traffic, but still on the lower end professional. Could be, you know, like the antique shop that's there, those types of things.
Does it make it harder to get the grant if we expand it too much? And does that have an impact?
Without the application, criteria, we're unsure now, but I guess the key is once that criteria does come out, we're gonna have to, move pretty fast to pull everything together and submit.
In the prior corridor grant application that was not approved, the planning commission originally proposed 2 separate grants. One would have been from the airport to the Bedford 114, 101 intersection. And the second one would have covered this same area that we're talking about in Goffstown. And we managed to convince the planning commission, it was pretty easy because they're planners, they like that kind of thing, to connect the two and have just one long corridor. It's, of course, my view was it's better for Goffstown because now we become part of what's actually going on. But of course, I'd want their input as to, as you extend it, do you really risk losing the whole thing, type of thing. So that's a real kind of good question. There's probably not a lot of good answers till we see what the details are.
Anybody else?
It's gonna be interesting to see how the vote goes in that area.
Yeah.
To get that snapshot and see what the people think.
Yep.
That live there
You know,
and do business there, if we can find out.
I would also tell you sometimes on the vote, it's probably one of the issues that most people aren't, there's not a lot of information out on it. And I would, I'll put it nicely, there's probably a lot of blind voting on that issue. And sometimes what's communicated out, and speaking to what Al was talking about, the vision, if you were to go to most people within that area of the community, they probably not sure what you're speaking about, and so I'm not sure what that vote will mean, up or down. Obviously, if it goes successful, one could say people are in favor. It's not, doesn't mean they weren't in favor, they just didn't know what it truly meant. That's.
And if it's not recommended by the planning board,
Right.
it says that on ballot, chances are slim you're gonna get anything approved.
that is correct.
So what blind voting means is like they don't really read it?
They're
and they
looking
just
at the
say-
planning board, I'm
Gotcha.
gonna go right along there. Most
Yes.
people will follow that and say the
Follow the
planning
line,
board-
right.
Planning board
Right.
recommended or not, and some people just have other people just have a anti-growth,
And it-
type situation.
As a rule, whatever is recommended is usually what
It's
passes.
very rare that it doesn't.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
gonna flow with the
You
easy
also have to
side.
keep in mind that the petitioned article was blind as well,
Yeah.
because there was no planning that went into it. It was like, people there wanted, some people wanted to do something, and that was really the easiest thing to do, so let's make it whatever it was, commercial, or, is that what it is, commercial or commercial industrial flex zone?
No, I believe it'd go to commercial.
It's gonna go to commercial.
So, the idea here with the grant would be to actually do some planning.
Now, can you meet with the people in that area? I mean, yeah, if the vote doesn't give you a true number, or,
I didn't say it doesn't give you a true.
no,
number,
it
but-
may or may not, it may or may not, but you're right, if it doesn't seem to, can you then meet with the people of that part of the community? Get their feedback, talk to them.
Is
Is that possible?
your board volunteering to conduct those meetings then?
Well,
Asking.
the issue, I think, you got a short term right now. I think you gotta wait till after Tuesday to get that feel. And then, two things, as a current, member of the supervisor checklist, I've developed a database that allows us to be able to see the two districts as a whole. So you may get a passing of it, but you may find that the 03102 group was deadly set against it versus, and what that does is it gives you some information to move forward and say, okay, do you want to pit one against the other type of thing and so that's a good information for us to be able to use as we go forward, so. But it'll be interesting. Anything else, Derek, on that?
No, I think at this point, at the next meeting, I'll bring that information back and discuss it further and, talk with Southern New Hampshire Planning on their feelings on, do we include Pinardville, that, and then I'd be looking for EDC support on, an application when we go forward.
Okay. All right. Number 5, council appointments.
Yep, you should have received paperwork, for if your term is up from the town clerk. And, the Board of Selectmen is gonna be taking appointment or volunteer applications through March and then, appointing in the beginning of April, so.
Don't all jump at once.
If you have any question about your term, just let me know. I can let you know when your term's up, if you need to submit a volunteer application, so.
Right. I know that we have 2 members of our audience that have always been very active with us. I'll start with Main Street. Do you have anything you want to discuss with us?
Well, thank you. Nothing in particular. We do have a new business that has recently opened, Alpha's Barber Shop, and we have, sadly, a business that will be closing in March, but already a new tenant has been found for that business location, and it will be a children's consignment shop.
Excellent.
It's the property at 7 Elm Street, next to TD Bank. So that should be opening the beginning of April, so that's a pretty fast turn. We do have some vacant properties in the district, and we're always looking for entrepreneurs who are looking to invest in a good location. And recently, we've been contacted by the U.S. Postal Service. Our local postmaster has brought to our attention a new product from the Postal Service called Every Door Direct Mail. And that may be something that you might want to have a briefing about, to take back to businesses in town. It's an alternative to using bulk mail, and it could be yet, just another marketing tool for small businesses.
Any Main Street event coming up this month?
Any Main Street events
Yeah, I
coming up
just
this
that was my
month?
next one, isn't it?
Yes, if you haven't yet bought your tickets for the St. Patrick's Day dance, may I recommend that you do so quickly as they are quickly selling out. That is March 17th, and of course, we'd like to thank the Budget Committee for their recommendation of our warrant article, and in fact, the increase in the amount from the Budget Committee, and we'd like to invite you to support that article, which is number 19 on your election ballot.
And you're not a true townie unless you've gone to the thing.
Well, the St. Patrick's Day dance, it's not to be missed. It's the highlight of the
I don't know if
social
that's
season.
encouraging people.
God, not sure what it is.
I gotta go do that, sounds great.
Those who go will understand the statement.
Yes.
It is the highlight of the social season.
I know it is.
Who will be the next Grand Leprechaun? That is the big one.
Who could it be? Well, actually, we're not really sure the past Grand Leprechaun is willing to give it up. He's
Oh.
been
Yeah.
really enthused about it.
That's what I heard.
Tony?
In terms of news from the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, the Metro Center is really getting renewed focus from not only the commission, but also the Chamber of Commerce, which is the Manchester Chamber, which is their partner in that deal. The Certified Sites Program, I think, has been discussed here previously, but it is becoming potentially a real program, which would allow developers working with the planning board to essentially get different levels of pre-approvals for vacant properties or rehabilitating properties, and then put those properties into a national database for marketing purposes. So that's something that I think this group would be keenly interested in. And the Metro Center, it appears, is going to do or begin to focus on more direct outreach and working with economic development councils and commissions. The next meeting is March 20th at 3 o'clock, I think at the Manchester Chamber office. And I would encourage your group, even though you haven't been asked by them, to send somebody there on a regular basis. Going to what I've often said, the more points of contact we have at these groups, not only the greater influence we'll have there, but the more we'll be able to take away from what's going on. So, you know, for me to go either from the Planning Commission or Goffstown Industrial Corporation, you know, for someone to go who's, you know, on the planning board or a selectman, you know, that's great, but, and then the planning staff goes as well. But we need more and more people to actually be there so that we can maintain some real consistency and build a greater institutional, meaning Goffstown presence. So I'd encourage you to volunteer to do that.
What do you think the long-term benefits of that would be?
Well, what I'm pushing for is to ensure that Goffstown becomes part of really a regional development program. Because we are the tail wagging the dog when it comes to what's going on in Manchester, what's going on in Bedford because of all of the commercial property they have, what's going on in Londonderry because of the airport. We're nowhere to be seen unless we show up all the time and find places where we can insert ourselves. One place we did that was in last year's grant application to HUD by connecting our section with the airport section. That is directly related to the town being contacted by the Planning Commission saying, we didn't get the last grant, but this one is perfect for you guys. I don't think that if we were involved in the last go-around, they would have even known that we were interested in doing something like that. So there will be long-term benefits.
Yep.
Can I take my Main Street hat off and put my General John Stark Scenic Byway hat on?
You may.
The General John Stark Scenic Byway, which as you know runs through the four towns of Goffstown, Dunbarton, New Boston, and Ware, is also affiliated with Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission. And they have recently launched their own website, which is generaljohnstarkbyway.org. And if you have activities or events that you'd like to post, you can go through the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission or through me. This is a good regional tourism tool. Unfortunately, right now at the federal level, the funding for Scenic Byway support is being looked at very strongly for being cut, but I think locally, we're seeing the benefits of working in a regional fashion, even with the smaller towns that are on the byway with us. And I think in the long term, that bodes well for us to be able to do some joint marketing, certainly in terms of heritage tourism, which is, it is the future of tourism for the Granite State. I think this is a great opportunity for us, so I'm glad that we're a part of it, and if you have questions about the Byway or the Byway Council, let me know.
Can I just ask you what heritage tourism is?
Heritage tourism is where people who are not necessarily outdoor recreation enthusiasts, they are people who are going to look at historic or cultural sites.
Right.
And so
It's like a driving tour, like on Sunday, they'll take a driving tour sort of thing?
could be a driving tour person, or it could be somebody who goes, take for example, anybody Civil War buff, where would you go? Gettysburg, Manassas, all of those places. People who are interested in heritage and cultural tourism, by and large, spend more money, they spend more days in an area, they spend more money while they're there than a recreation tourist. They tend to get out more, they tend to delve a little bit more into the local culture. And that's why preserving the natural and cultural heritage of an area is so critical, because if we look like everywhere else, we won't get those tourists. But if we maintain our own unique identities, then we'll grab more of them. And they are coming from everywhere. I mean, heritage tourists can come from our backyard, but they can also come from Germany. Sure. They can come from, California, coming out, my brother-in-law, for example, is from Kansas, comes out here to see the leaves, but while he's out here, he's gonna visit a museum. He's not necessarily gonna go hiking in the White Mountains because he goes hiking at the Grand Canyon, but he's gonna go to Strawberry Bank and things like that. These are people who are looking to enrich that part of their life. And it's a growing part of the tourist industry, and one that New Hampshire, I think, is starting to focus more on as a whole.
How do our attractions stack up to the rest of New Hampshire?
Well, we look at our town and we say, oh gosh, what have we got here? But the fact of the matter is, we have a lot of unique sites, in that if you are coming from an area that is not here, you might, for example, look at our bridge, you might look at the Historical Society, you might take a gander through the library up in Ware, you might learn about the Pine Tree Riots and things of that nature. You might visit the Molly Stark Cannon in New Boston. So
go see how they make maple syrup or something like that.
Right.
Okay.
Obviously we're not going to compete with the
Strawberry Bank.
Strawberry Bank.
Gotcha.
Right.
Mhm.
But we have our own unique heritage. If you look at Dunbarton, home of Caleb Stark, the Molly Stark House, it's all the little pieces that you put together that come into a whole. And then you add to that the cultural events that go on in our 4 communities, and now you've got a richer picture. One thing we do need, place to put your head at night. We've got, in the 4 towns, no beds, no bed and breakfast, no hotels, no hotel motels, we've got nothing. And that's, one of the things, as a byway, we should be looking to recruit.
Because it might elevate the heritage tourism.
Give you a place to stay, and when you stay overnight, you're gonna spend more money, because you're gonna eat in town.
And they explore
Good
more.
job.
Wake up the next morning and you're still there.
Steve, anything from the Board of Selectmen?
Well, nothing to bring back to you.
Nothing? Okay. Any, other business for tonight?
Zip code.
Zip code.
Does anybody know why St. Anselms is exempt from that?
That's a good question.
Because I think it's bad.
It was
Call-
it was a
call-
blind item on the last vote, apparently.
I think that, we have St. Anselms in our town, and it seems to me they wanna be exempted from our town, if they're the ones that are driving this.
No, I call my wife in the morning, talk to her about it. She can give you more detail on that. I don't know all the detail to it, and I'm not sure if Steve
Well,
does or not. but-
I express that same sentiment to an extent regarding that on the exemption, and, part of the conversation with that, honestly, is that St. Anselms is associated with that Manchester zip code because of their location. They're associated saying Manchester because when people come for events, that it's understood going through Manchester. That's the understanding, some of the understanding I'm getting from this, which
So they don't wanna be known as Goffstown?
Who's asking for the exemption? Is it St. Anselms, or has anybody communicated that?
It's St. Anselms.
Because that really bugs me when you see all these political events there, and they continue to say Manchester.
Well, we've made
I
it,
actually emailed Fox News and told them
yeah,
that's not where they are.
we've made it a point at the union leader to indicate that it's Goffstown.
But it's a touchy subject, and I agree with you,
But who's requesting the zip code changes? Is it the town?
Isn't it because of 911?
Who's requesting that?
Every 10 years, you have an opportunity.
Who does? Who has the
The
opportunity?
town has, the
selectmen.
selectmen have that
So
opportunity.
then,
Yeah.
you don't have to, you could choose to change the whole area.
Well, there's a whole process. This is one of the first steps
we
involved.
just don't say we're gonna change the zip code.
Right.
It is a process, and part of what, some of the driving factors from it were, when we were looking at the revenue, when sometimes when mail goes out, or 911, or cable, in fact, there was a cable issue where we received tax money for usage, but it's going to Manchester because they're seeing a Manchester address.
It's zip code driven.
Vehicle registrations, things of that nature.
But I still don't understand why wouldn't you just say you don't have an exemption? We're gonna look at this area inclusively, everybody who's in this.
I would say,
Is it a political decision?
I would say check with our town administrator at this point in time.
Wow.
I have talked to people in that,
It's the safest way because I don't have all the detail, and she can enlighten you as to exactly where that goes.
I've talked to people in that area, and they've actually said that, having a Manchester zip code, their car insurance and stuff like that is higher due to that. So,
There's all
and I
different-
know
yeah.
a lot of the people in that area, I mean, some are for it, some are not for it, but I know several of the ones I talked to were for it because of those particular situations.
There's lots of
Exactly, small
factors.
stuff, yeah, exactly.
I think it's a good idea that we're all under one zip code. I think we should be. I think we shouldn't have that separation.
It would be the beginning, of unifying the three groups, so to speak, in my opinion.
What do you mean the three groups?
Well, you got Grassmere, you got the village, and you got Pinardville, and it would be a way to, under what zip code, to start identifying us as Goffstown.
As they did in Bedford when they were 03102, and they all became 03110.
Yeah.
The whole town did it.
The whole town, no exemption.
That's right.
Right. Tony?
Apart from our own provincialism and their potential desire to be more urban, that's why growing regionalism in our economic development and planning community is so important. So that people get a sense that, oh, you're out in Goffstown, you're in the boonies, it's not gonna work for us. They need to look at us as more a part of Manchester, if in fact we want to grow a commercial and industrial tax base. which is different than if we wanna, I mean, we do wanna maintain our character, but I think that this group, if no others, needs to understand that we need them more than they need us in terms of that Manchester, Bedford, Londonderry corridor.
And look at the whole and not the part.
Yeah.
Anything else? No? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Nobody wants to?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned.